Hey, it is your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today. We're zooming in and focusing in on a very important and interesting understanding when it comes to really looking at the relationship patterns with a narcissist or a psychopath, an individual who is toxic, an emotional manipulator. And that is looking at, how does one really get set up to fail? How does one really get set up to violate your own standards? How do you really have your boundaries violated? How do you begin to accept too much? How do things really get out of hand? How do things begin spiraling? And oftentimes it is because you are too emotionally attached to this individual. Because of the flagrant charm, the sort of je ne sais quoi, the inextricable thing that makes this person different, the thing you can't really touch. It's hard to, it's sort of elusive. The narcissist can be quite charming. Their sense of self-importance sometimes can be a relief. It can help you kind of avoid your own reality. You can take solace or kind of bask in them versus, dealing with your own life or, giving yourself someone to idealize. And, especially also, and we talk about, we're kind of putting these all together, rolling them into one, but in the advent of the psychopath, they tend to people have almost as if they're anesthetized with a stun gun, because there is something very different about these people. Even though you might not be able to put your finger on it, your tongue on it, you might not be able to explain it or put it into words. There's something very enigmatic or cryptic or mysterious about this individual that you might really kind of fall agape for or aghast for, where you really find yourself inextricably attracted to them and you don't know why. You just find that this person is different, and it's because there is something very different about their chemistry. The fact that they don't experience a lot of emotions, so they will not become afraid at things that most persons would become afraid at. They don't really flinch when most people would flinch. They don't seem to get caught up or snagged up on things that most people would get snagged up on. They just are not feeling anything. So oftentimes this might be very alluring or attractive when you find that, this person is not reacting with fear or trepidation. They have a sort of confidence, but, or a sort of coolness or really a non-reactiveness, which most people find amazing. They're like, why aren't you reacting at this? Why aren't you crying at this? Why aren't you stumped by this? And they just seem to keep going. And that can be in business or relationships or situations where most people would be disturbed. They are just not disturbed. So people tend to become attracted, inextricably attracted, where they really are beside themselves. They have a sense of fascination or awe, or some people will say a superficial charm, just the way that they maybe carry their body. They just seem very inattentive to others. In other words, they're not acknowledging social norms. They're not responding to people in the way that most people would respond. Their facial muscles don't react. Their vocal patterns don't seem to match either. They're a little bit different. They have a different emotional connection to words, so they tend to then take over and kind of psychologically hijack the meaning of things in the discussion, the conversation, or the relationship, where you are really sort of at a loss for words or a loss of reality, and you become, then their reality becomes your reality. In other words, you begin to then become anesthetized to the way that they're thinking, and you just are losing track of your own values, your own thought patterns, and you become enamored, or instead of continuing your own focus, that their focus becomes more important than your focus. So we do definitely see that these patterns will also become in a state of fear, which means, rather than it being based on comfort, love, joy, a lot of these more positive things, there becomes really this sort of a ghastness. And it's very important to realize that it is this that allows your boundaries to be lowered. It allows your regular sort of intuition or gut instinct to be just almost made null or neutral or non-existent, meaning it sets you up to be manipulated. It sets you up to be open or vulnerable or receptive, and you are not having your guard up. So that is one of the first, that is how it gets set up. And then allowing this person to take control or being the leader in the relationship, so to speak, or the one who is funny or whatever it is, you tend to kind of take a back seat to them and their perspective, their perceptions, because of the way that they they are either unflinching or they're charmed. There's something about them which you unconsciously, subconsciously set up as more important or more attractive than yourself. So right away, unbeknownst to you, you're setting up a less than dynamic, which means I am less than, I don't have what they have. And oftentimes it's because you're trying to absorb and try to kind of comprehend, not consciously like, oh, I'm trying to comprehend this person, but it becomes a subconscious situation where you don't really know, but there's something different about this person, and you then place meaning on it or interpret it as if, wow, this is my savior. This person, because they don't, because they're a risk taker, because they're so good at doing this, they take me to these places where they know that I'll fall in love, or etc. That especially in the advent of the psychopath, they have this sort of pathological self-absorption, which people then abandon themselves for, basically, or the relationship is like reckless abandon. It can be sexual or love or something of that nature, but then what ends up happening then is that you now begin to just get that, but on a more pronounced level, a deeper level. So your boundaries become violated in this initial setting, and then you lose track of really how to pay attention or when to say no, how to say stop. There become no brakes on the car. There's no emotional control. There's no emotional mastery you have over yourself, because you've basically thrown the towel out and given it all to this person in the name of love. Though I would definitely say that most people, they feel it's in the name of love. It's in the name of a future. It's in the name of a positive relationship. But it is set up then where your boundaries are violated, and you then lose track of how to protect yourself. Enforce your boundaries. Say no. Enough is enough. This is too crazy. It becomes intermixed with trying to save the relationship. In other words, then you become trying to save this relationship or get back to that idealized stage where you had the experience that this person is your godsend, or your soulmate, or whatever it is you had to interpret this person. And it could have even been a family member where they basically took emotional master over you, rather than you experiencing emotional control and balance and harmony and getting a chance to have your input and have yourself validated. So that is really how the boundaries get violated, and then you violate yourself even more so for this person. In other words, making more sacrifices of your time, making more sacrifices to get that positive regard. And the list goes on and on. But I think it's very important to understand how it got set up, why it got set up, so that you can go, aha, okay, I get it now. I understand how that got set up. That was how they took advantage. That was how they manipulated me. And that is now what I need to do to erect and protect myself. And that is one of the greatest lessons learned, I think, from really healing through successfully a relationship with an emotional manipulator such as a narcissist or a psychopath. It is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today, and I hope that these videos, that they do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.